In my last video, I was discussing about this common question that I continue to get asked. How do I control my anger and what to do when anger clouds my thinking? I feel this uncontrollable rage in this situation and what to do about that. And I often offer people a few questions to ask themselves, and that has seemed to help quite a number of people. And I'm sharing the same with you so that you can sit in silence and ask these questions to yourself without getting distracted by anything else. Once you answer these questions, there would be much more clarity coming up. So, the question that you should be asking yourself, the next question that you should be asking yourself is, what does my anger trying to protect me from feeling? Now, this question needs a bit of honesty in answering. I'm not talking about moral honesty, I am talking about body level honesty, what we call as somatic honesty. And why am I saying so? Because anger is what we allow ourselves to feel when we know that there is this another emotion that we do not want to feel or we do not allow ourselves to feel. So anger this way becomes a proxy, an alternative that is permitted instead of the other emotion that we are trying to avoid. Now pay attention and note. When anger arises, something else usually steps back into the shadows. And this something else is what we are trying to avoid. For some of you, beneath anger could be hurt, a familiar ache from the past, or old disappointments, moments where you learn that it is safer to harden than to feel anything. For others, beneath anger could be fear, fear of losing control, fear of being powerless, fear of not knowing what comes up next. And for many others, underneath anger could be something even more uncomfortable, sadness perhaps. Now, this sadness doesn't need more attention, but it requires some space for it to flow out freely. But anger doesn't need space. Anger says, I want movement, I want volume, I want force. Anger says, do something, say something, fix something. Sadness says, stay wherever you are and don't move. So the system chooses anger. It is action, it is less pain. Anger keeps you functional, but sadness, on the contrary, makes you inactive and lifeless. So, what does your system choose? Your system chooses anger over sadness. Anger becomes your armor, heavy and loud and protective. It protects you from feeling lifeless emotional misery. It gives you a reason to act. And if you dismantle this process, ask yourself this question. If anger was to step aside for just a moment, what feeling would rush in? What feeling pops up when there is no anger? If you give it time and do not rush through the answer, you may notice a kind of resistance, a tightening, a voice that says, I don't have time for this. Now, that voice is also the armor. This voice chooses to avoid the truth beneath. Imagine a child at the edge of the ocean. The waves are unpredictable, they are loud and uncontrollable, and sometimes scary to the child. So, what does the child do? The child builds a wall of sand to protect themselves from the crashing waves. At first, the wall feels safe. The waves hit the wall instead of the child, but over time, the wall becomes exhausting to maintain. It becomes weak. Holding against every wave requires effort and reinforcement to protect its defense. Anger is that wall. It keeps the waves of vulnerability from touching you. And what if I tell you this? The ocean was never trying to drown the child, it was only trying to move the child. Ask yourself, what emotion have I been avoiding because it felt safe to feel them earlier on? And who taught me that this feeling was little too much? We don't need them. When did I learn that anger was the only acceptable response? Some of you might remember moments of your childhood or your early age. Some might not remember anything at all, but just that familiar heaviness. And both are valid. What matters is the realization that anger is not the problem. Anger is actually the solution, what your system chooses when it doesn't feel supported enough to feel something else. And when you see that, truly see that, instantly the armor feels unnecessary, not needed. This is the difference between a wise person, an emotionally intelligent person, and an emotionally vulnerable person. So instead of fighting your anger, try asking yourself this question: what are you trying to spare me from in this moment? And then wait for your body to respond back. Because when anger feels heard, like a child asking to be heard, the child doesn't need to shout. The anger doesn't need to shout. Let that question work in the background. And trust me, I've seen this in many coaching sessions and many therapy sessions. What comes out as a response baffles people. I hope you like this video, and if you do, I would request you to like this video and consider subscribing to this channel, Mind Healing with Bhavish, for more such videos. If you do have any suggestions or any inputs or anything that you would want to share, do consider commenting in the comment box below. If you have someone you like and care for, do consider sharing this video with them so that they can also get enlightened with this knowledge. And until the next video, I want you to stay blessed, stay healthy, and catch hold of this wisdom if you can. I shall see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.